Welcome to Sports Guy Talking. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about the impact that Kevin Durant would have if he was to be traded to the Heat. Kevin Durant requested a trade from the Nets, and his preferred destinations are the Suns and the Heat. However, getting Kevin Durant in a trade package could prove to be pretty difficult, as many fans and experts consider Kevin Durant to be a top 5 player in the NBA at the least. Before I say anything else, though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So, here it is. Would Kevin Durant make the Heat NBA champions for the 2023 NBA season? And my answer to that is heck yes. Kevin Durant would indeed make the Miami Heat NBA champions. I mean, look, the Miami Heat, they lost to the Boston Celtics in 7 games in the Eastern Conference Finals, and that was basically with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and the rest of the roster was basically injured. All right, the Miami Heat, they overachieved last year. If they plug in Kevin Durant to that team, this is a team that can win the Eastern Conference Finals. They can beat the Boston Celtics. I know that Kevin Durant struggled against the Boston Celtics in round 1 of the NBA playoffs last year for the Brooklyn Nets. But look, the Miami Heat team, they're a much better team than the Brooklyn Nets. All right, and the Miami Heat, they're also a team that has a lot more structure. They have better coaching staff, a better general manager, and their culture is just flat out better than the Brooklyn Nets. You plug in Kevin Durant to the Miami Heat are going to run through the Eastern Conference. All right, they're going to dominate in there. Kevin Durant is the missing piece that the Miami Heat need. If I'm the Miami Heat GM, Pat Riley, I'm going to go ahead and make this trade. And I came up with 3 trade proposals that I think the Miami Heat need to seriously consider. All right, so here's my trade proposal number 1. This is going to be between the Nets and the Heat. All right, so the Miami Heat give up Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Kyle Lowry, and they'll give up basically all the future first-round picks, although they can do a pick swap in 2024, 2026, and 2028. So in other words, the Brooklyn Nets, they can basically gain 4 first-round picks, 3 pick swaps, and 3 players in the deal, while the Heat would get Kevin Durant. Why would the Miami Heat go ahead and give up all that much for that? Well, because Kevin Durant, first of all, is one of the best players on the planet, yet he has some issues mentally. Yeah, is he too sensitive? Yes, but I believe that if you put him on the Miami Heat, and if you can keep his head all in on basketball, block out that sensitivity, he's the missing piece that the Miami Heat need. The Miami Heat, they just need a guy that can rise up in big moments. They already got that guy in Jimmy Butler. They need another guy that can do that. KD can do that. Look, if they can get Kevin Durant with this trade package that I just proposed, the starting lineup will consist of Jimmy Butler, Kevin Durant, Bam Adebayo, Max Strus, and Gabe Vincent. That's a pretty good starting lineup if you ask me. And then some of the bench players would include Caleb Martin, Nikola Jovic, the guy that they just drafted in the first round, Dwayne Dedmon, and Victor Oladipo. That's a nice 9-man rotation. So if you do that, the Miami Heat team, they're still pretty good in terms of depth, and they have the second star that they need. Or you could even say third star, depending how you feel about Bam Adebayo. That would be a nice team that the Miami Heat would be able to put up if they were able to do this trade. And if you're the Brooklyn Nets, you get 3 players and so many draft picks out of that. That would be an excellent haul for them. So that's my trade proposal number 1. My trade proposal number 2 would be the Nets would receive Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Kyle Lowry, Nikola Jovic, the guy that they just selected in the first round, and they basically give up all their future first-round picks with the exception of 2029. So instead of giving up their 2029 first-round pick, they can give up Nikola Jovic. Why would the Heat do this still? Well, let's say the Brooklyn Nets, they want a player instead of a draft pick in a much later year. Well, the Miami Heat would have a starting lineup with this. They would have a lineup of Jimmy Butler, Kevin Durant, Bam Adebayo, Max Strus, and Gabe Vincent. So it's the same starting lineup that I proposed from the first trade, but their bench would look a little bit different. They would have Caleb Martin. He's a nice defender. They can plug him in off the bench. They would have Dwayne Dedmon, and they would have Victor Oladipo, and they could also have Jimmy Butler also playing the 4 off the bench if necessary. I know that's only an 8-man rotation, but NBA teams, when you're looking for a championship caliber team, you usually only need 8 guys that are high quality players. The Miami Heat, they would still have nice depth, and of course, the first trade proposal is more favorable for the Miami Heat, but you go ahead and do that because, let's say the Brooklyn Nets, they want a younger player instead of an unknown draft pick. You go ahead and do that. Of course, if you're the Brooklyn Nets, you get 4 players in return, and you get so many draft picks in return. That would be a pretty excellent haul in return for Kevin Durant. So that's why you go ahead and do that second trade proposal. But that's only if the first trade proposal is rejected by the Brooklyn Nets. Then they can go ahead and sweeten that deal. All right, and here's the third trade proposal that I think could take the Heat over the top in terms of the Eastern Conference. And this is going to be a three-team trade. This is going to be between the Nets, Heat, and Kings. All right, so the Brooklyn Nets, they can get Bam Adebayo, De'Aaron Fox, Tyler Hero, and Nikola Jovic. In return, they'll also get draft picks as well. In the Miami Heat, they get Kevin Durant. And the Kings, they get Ben Simmons. All right, so when I talk about these draft picks, I'm talking about all future first-round picks that the Miami Heat have to give up with the exception of 2029. All right, so, of course, if you're the Brooklyn Nets, that would be a massive haul. You're talking about 4 players, and you're talking about 3 draft picks that you get to get basically on your own, 3 pick swaps. Those are basically like 10 things you're getting in return. That's an excellent haul in return for Kevin Durant. That would be basically unprecedented outside of maybe the Anthony Davis trade. But, I mean, Anthony Davis was a guy coming into his prime. Kevin Durant, although he's still in his prime, it's pretty obvious he's on the back end of that. And if you're the Kings, you go ahead and get Ben Simmons. He's a guy that they've been interested before in the past. And also the Kings, they need some stardom. Ben Simmons, although he's pretty lazy, whenever he actually is playing on the court, he's actually pretty talented. The Sacramento Kings is a good gamble for them to take, and they need to put some fans in the seats. If Ben Simmons actually suits up for the Sacramento Kings, that could get fans interested in them. And if you get the Miami Heat, in terms of understand why they would do that trade, they can go ahead and get Kevin Durant because he would put them over the top. He would be basically the rotation if they was to get Kevin Durant in the third trade package that I just proposed. All right, so basically they would have a starting lineup of Jimmy Butler, Kevin Durant, Dwayne Dedmon, Max Strus, and Kyle Lowry. Now, look, I understand that losing Bam Adebayo, that's huge because he's so versatile and he's pretty good for a big man. But Dwayne Dedmon, he can do his thing. He can make defense happen. He can block shots, get rebounds, set screens, score in the paint occasionally if needed. So Dwayne Dedmon, he could somewhat fit in well at the 5, although that would certainly be a question mark. But then off the bench, you got Duncan Robinson. I know he didn't play much in the playoffs last year, but he's a guy that can shoot the 3 ball really well. Then you got Caleb Martin. Caleb Martin is a guy that can provide solid defense. And then they got Victor Oladipo and Gabe Vincent off the bench. That's a pretty strong 9-man rotation. They could sign a backup center and give them some quality minutes. So that could be suited up for a nice 9-man, 10-man rotation, something like that. Either way, though, with those 3 trade proposals that I just threw out with Kevin Durant to the Miami Heat, the Miami Heat would easily go over the top. If they get Kevin Durant to pair up with Jimmy Butler, they're already a nice 1-2 combo. This is a team that can beat the Bucks come playoff time. This is a team that can already beat the Philadelphia 76ers without Kevin Durant. They can go ahead and do that. They can beat the Boston Celtics with this team, and they're just better than everybody else in the Eastern Conference. If they can manage to find a way to get Kevin Durant onto the Miami Heat are definitely winning the Eastern Conference Finals, and they would probably win the NBA Finals because Kevin Durant has proven that although he can't carry a team on his own to a championship, what Kevin Durant has proven is that he's great at being that final piece that a team needs in order to be pushed over the top. That's exactly what he did when he joined the Golden State Warriors in 2016. That's what he's going to do again if he gets traded to the Miami Heat. I know that Kevin Durant, he's getting paid a lot of money the next 4 years on his contract, but he's still a top player. The Miami Heat, they're looking to win now. They're a piece away from winning a championship. If they can manage to get Kevin Durant, that would be huge for them. And I think that if they do get Kevin Durant, they will end up winning the NBA Finals, whether it be against the Phoenix Suns, Golden State Warriors, Memphis Grizzlies, Dallas Mavericks, whoever you name in the Western Conference. The Miami Heat would win the NBA Finals because they would have an excellent duel with Jimmy Butler and Kevin Durant. And they would also have a lot of nice bench pieces that they could use, and that their depth would still be pretty good. So that is why Kevin Durant would make the Miami Heat NBA champions for the 2023 NBA season. Now I want to go ahead and get to the shoutouts. So shoutout number 1 goes to Ramsey TG23. So he says, we'll see how it goes. He's talking about the Rudy Gobert trade. I think that the Rudy Gobert trade was an excellent trade for the Utah Jazz, terrible trade for the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's what I got to say for my shout number 1. Shout number 2 is for Ransom 4. So he says, Mark is literally Gobert with the offensive game. Don't sleep on him. He's talking about Mark Williams for the Charlotte Hornets. Well, I'll say this. Based on the way how Mark Williams is playing in the Summer League, he hasn't necessarily looked too good. So that's what I got to say about that. Thanks for commenting, though. That's my shout number 2. Shout number 3 is what's holding up. So he says it's just Summer League, but as a Zag fan, I always felt Chet has a lot of potential. He has highest ceiling in draft class. Well, I'll say this about Chet Holmgren. He's a guy that I've always been high on since day one. I'm super high on him. I've been amazed about his potential. I think he's played great in the summer league. I think that he'll continue to play great come regular season time, and he's going to be a future star in the NBA. So that's why I got to say for shout out number 3. Shout out number 4 is Brazen Excalibur. So he says, curious about Baker. Looking forward to seeing Matt Corral, and I couldn't care less about Sam Darnold. He is who we thought he was. And that's basically what I got to say about that as well. I agree with him. Who really cares about Sam Darnold? He's terrible. He can't flat out play. Now, Baker Mayfield, am I saying he's a good quarterback? No, he isn't, but he's better than Sam Darnold, albeit not by much. And as for Matt Corral, yeah, I'm excited to see what we got to see in him because Matt Corral, he's a project guy that we selected in the 3rd round. Let's see what he's made out of. If he can beat out Sam Darnold in the preseason, that'll be pretty good for him. So that's my shout out number 4. Shout out number 5 is Red Sox, let's go. So he says, great video, Dustin. So he's talking about the Paolo Banchero video I was making. And what I got to say is, thank you. Thank you for that compliment. It means a lot to me. It certainly does. So that's my shout out number 5. And a special shout out number 6. Since I did the 1,000 subscriber reward video for you guys, I'm going to go ahead and release a 6th shout out. And that 6th shout out will be Viet Season. So he says, sick video, man. It's really well made. And what I got to say, Viet Season, is that thank you so much. It means a lot to me that you're complimenting me on the content that I'm making. It means a lot because that means you guys enjoyed the content that you guys are seeing. So that's my shout out number 6. So those are the 6 shout outs that I have to present to you guys. All right, remember this. Go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking if you haven't yet. Like the video and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in a future video. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Dustin Tran and at Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter at Dustin Tran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video. Comment down below. Check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.